Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Today is going to be STS Radio finally making its return in 2015. It's been a good little while. I was bracing myself on the excuse, honestly, that, there was the Christmas season. After the Christmas season came New Year's season, and then just, I'll do it next week, and I'll do it next week, but here we are. We're finally counting it down into the Royal Rumble. Last night was the big go-home show on Monday Night Raw. Finally, they start hyping the actual Royal Rumble match. It's a week out. At TLC, we had Roman Reigns say that he was going to win the Rumble. A few weeks ago, we had Daniel Bryan's decision saying that he was going to enter into the Royal Rumble. And then we have nothing. We really don't know anybody except for Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Bray Wyatt as competitors. Tonight we're going to be getting the Santino Marella WWE special where he's going to be hopefully releasing more people into the Rumble. Hopefully we'll be seeing people pulling out balls from the tumbler and seeing what's going down. The Royal Rumble, always one of the funnest shows that there is out there. When I look at this show, honestly, it makes me laugh a little bit. For the last month, I've been doing a lot of reviews on the Stevie Breach channel here of previous Rumbles. I went back and started all the way in 1989 to 1990, 1991. Got to a point where I hit 1995 and was like, I'm not watching this show. Skipped all the way until I believe 1998. And, started going from there. But it just reminds me, when I look at this card, the undercard, man, it reminds me of those older Rumbles. I remember watching one show, and it was the team of, the Bushwhackers and Hacksaw Jim Duggan going up against the Rougeau brothers in a match that was like, how do you even get heat on this to make people care about it? The Royal Rumble, when it was first created, never really had a reason why they were having this match. They never really got over the fact of, were they wrestling for a title shot? Were they wrestling for just respect in the locker room? Were they wrestling for a large purse or reward for winning the match? Cash money put up by Vince McMahon himself. It just was a big match, and we all watched it, and we all loved it. WrestleMania 1990, possibly one of my favorite Rumbles to watch every Rumble season, with all the Hall of Famers entering in there. When I look at this card, it makes me wish that we were watching the Royal Rumble 2011 here. Honestly, one of my favorite Rumbles, because you got a WWE Championship match, you got a World Heavyweight Championship match, you got a Divas match, and then you got the big-ass 40-man Royal Rumble. That was it. This match, this show coming up this year, 2015, we've got a pre-show match at the New Day. All three guys going in a six-man tag, wrestling against Cesaro, Tyson Kidd, and Adam Rose. We've got the New Age Outlaws going up against the Ascension in another tag team match. We've got the Usos putting up the tag team championship up against Miz and Damian Sandow for the millionth time. We've got a Divas tag match, including the Divas champion. No Divas title on the line. The Bella Twins teaming up against the Total Divas pair of Natalya and Paige. And then the big one that is going to send us to WrestleMania 31. Brock Lesnar putting the WWE Championship on the line against John Cena and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, the up-and-coming new main eventer of the WWE, ever since breaking off from the Shield, winning the Money in the Bank briefcase at the June Money in the Bank pay-per-view, has been running around with this briefcase. And he's had no champion to chase since Brock Lesnar hasn't been seen really since Seth Rollins gave him the curb stomp to end Night of Champions back in September. Pretty much makes that briefcase worthless, but we still saw it on the house shows. We still saw it on Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins waving it around like it really meant something. That contract, it only means something if you get a champion to cash it in on. People can say whatever they want to about Brock Lesnar's title reign. I was not the biggest fan of it, and I'm hoping that at this year's Royal Rumble, we're going to see a new champion crowned, even if it goes to Seth Rollins, where he has the championship and the Money in the Bank briefcase. I want to see somebody new. Brock going into WrestleMania, having to just a normal match, I think is going to have a lot more build for it. I don't want to see another WrestleMania 20 situation for Brock Lesnar where he went up against Goldberg and the crowd just revolted on the match, knowing that both guys were leaving and both guys didn't give a care about the match. Stone Cold Steve Austin has talked in interviews about being in that match and wishing he could have done this, that, or the other. He didn't want to take away from the shine of Goldberg and Lesnar, but he was just there to count the 1, 2, 3 pretty much. But he said that maybe if he would have hit the ropes, maybe if he would have fired up on Lesnar or Goldberg, and maybe the crowd could have got into that match and maybe something could have been saved from it. But in today's SDS Radio, we're going to be counting down and talking about all the matches. Of course, we're going to be talking about all the hopeful surprise returns coming from the Rumble. Lots of talk about the show being in Philadelphia and having an ECW feel. So we're going to be counting it down. So sit tight, go to the kitchen, grab you a snack. Sit down with a big glass of milk, maybe get some Oreos, and we'll be counting it down. But I'll see you after this, and we'll talk in the next segment. In our next couple of segments, we're going to be talking about Royal Rumble surprises for the 2015 Royal Rumble. Back in November, when the Royal Rumble was announced in Philadelphia, they ran a spot, like a commercial for the in the building, people announcing that tickets were going to go on sale for the Royal Rumble, and to make sure you got in line for the pre-sale so that you could get your tickets. In that commercial, they hyped up the Royal Rumble as going back to the 40-man Royal Rumble that they did back in 2011. Of course, with the 2011, you saw a whole bunch of outside people coming in, making big-time surprises. Of course, WWE was able to snatch up Kevin Nash and Booker T and bring them back home from the WWE. From TNA, bringing them back and putting them in the Rumble. Of course, this killed off all plans of the main event Mafia returning to television at that time, where basically TNA had to put together a promo to run on the show, basically saying that the new group that was being formed was way bigger and way better than what the main event Mafia once was. I'm trying to remember. It wasn't the Front Line. Maybe that was the Front Line, because that's about the right time, 2011-ish, where they basically put the Dudleys. I'm having a hard time remembering what that was, but it was a lot of the ECW guys. I remember it wasn't the EV2 group. This was the Front Line, but I think that's what it was. Maybe it was like the Dudleys, Samoa Joe, AJ. Maybe it was like the premier set of guys. I'm having a hard time remembering. If you can remember, hit me up on the Twitter at Stevie Breach, or leave it in the comment box of the video down below. But this year, the heavy rumor was that with the Royal Rumble being home in Philadelphia this year at the Wells Fargo Center, especially with 40 guys leaving some spots open, in order to appease the Philadelphia crowd, which is when wrestling is bad, they're a bad crowd. When wrestling's good, they're a really good crowd. They're not going to put up with shit. If you think about Philadelphia fans, the way they treat their Phillies, the way they treat their Eagles, the way they treat their Flyers, their 76ers, Santa Claus, is that, if you're an Eagles fan, you can talk all the shit in the world you want about the Eagles. You can talk about how your team sucks, but as soon as somebody steps into the conversation who's not an Eagles fan and says anything bad about your team, even if it's about Mark Sanchez, you're going to go to war for your team because that's how you love them. And, WWE was thinking this is the year they would bring back and give ECW one more, tip of the hat. Honestly, in my mind, we've seen way too many ECW reunion shows. If you go back to the One Night Stand of 2005, even the One Night Stand of 2006, which led to ECW becoming a on-screen product for Sci-Fi, which led to the NXT show. They've got a real good goodbye, especially with TNA giving them their own hardcore homecoming. No, not hardcore homecoming. Sure, I can't remember what that was called, or whatever that TNA pay-per-view was, but that was bad. That was honestly one of the worst pay-per-views that I had ever seen. But the early plans was for ECW guys to invade the Royal Rumble, with them having 10 extra spots. Honestly, I think that they're going to have a hard time fitting a lot of these guys in, but I definitely think that you could slip. I think that Rob Van Dam definitely could be a guaranteed guy going into the Rumble this year. We just saw him pass out a Slammy Award at the Slammies. They keep him close to the WWE family. And they don't want to see him leaving and going somewhere else again, like the time that he was held hostage in TNA, pretty much. He's been well outspoken about the time that he was there not being used right, and I think the fact that WWE, brings him in for 3-month spurts each year is really good. I don't know if this is going to be the start of something. Right now, if you bring Rob Van Dam in, you're bringing him in from like the Royal Rumble until like Extreme Rules time. Last year, you brought him in the night after WrestleMania, and he wrestled, all the way till about. Shoot. I can't remember when he left. I think he left before SummerSlam. I don't think he was at SummerSlam. But, I don't know. Both runs, when you look at it, it's fun to see him come back. But it's not going to break any records. He's not going to be World Heavyweight Champion. He's probably not even going to be European, Intercontinental, or United States Champion or anything like that. He's just going to be a name that they try and push to try and get somebody over along the way. Almost like when Jericho was back, they sort of complained. Jericho's back, all he does is lose, and then all of a sudden he beats Bray Wyatt, and now he's the bad guy because he didn't put Bray Wyatt over. I think it's a little bit of a stretch now with only 30 guys that Sabu's going to be a part of the Rumble. A lot of people were thinking that they would bring back Tommy Dreamer. Dreamer's a little bit too close to TNA. He's only a few weeks removed. Well, I guess not weeks, because he was right before the break when they left to go to Destination America. I don't think he's been on those shows. I don't remember him being a part of those tapings, but when Spike was on, when Impact was on Spike, I believe he was on the last show that was there. Maybe they'll get a little bit of their jollies off by trying to steal one of those guys. Maybe they'll tell Dreamer, even if it is for a one-night appearance, maybe they'll ask him not to appear on TNA for a certain amount of time, or maybe they just don't even care. Tommy Dreamer is about one of the easiest pops there is in the wrestling business. Everybody loves Tommy Dreamer. Everybody be happy to see him. But the one guy then honestly I want to see more than anybody else, and I was really surprised that he didn't go back and be a part of the TNA team, but it's Bubba Ray Dudley. Even if he comes back and he's a part of WWE as a part of the Dudleys, you can see that the Ascension is running a pretty much a gimmick of wanting to beat up the older teams. We saw him on Raw Reunion with the NWO and the APA, and now here they are having a match against the New Age Outlaws at the Royal Rumble. I would love to see Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon come back and be a part of the Royal Rumble, leading to their, their sort of go-home stretch, where they can be guys that can be put into the Royal Rumble next year. Of course, that would make them the first guys that are a part of the TNA Hall of Fame as well as the WWE Hall of Fame, but I don't think people put a whole lot of stock into the TNA Hall of Fame, even if it does have Sting, Kurt Angle, and Team 3D in there. It is what it is, you know what I mean? But everybody's looking to see if these ECW guys in Philadelphia are going to get put under the show. I'll be cheering, but my guess is Rob Van Dam is a guarantee. Bubba Ray Dudley is a question mark, and I don't think they're going to put Sabu, Dreamer, or any of those other older guys in there. But you never know. It's going to be a cheap pop no matter who comes. I know that Roman Reigns comes out of the crowd still as a part of the Shield gimmick, but if Sandman in that Wells Fargo Center comes down smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer, that place is going to erupt, and I'm sure if I open my window here, I'll hear the pop from here. Chris Jericho has already made one Royal Rumble return in his career. Royal Rumble 2012, he made his big return, drawing number 2, coming down and surprising his big rival at the time, Dolph Ziggler, who was forced to be number 1 by Vicky Guerrero by running off and leaving her and joining up with AJ Lee. He came down as a big surprise. Honestly, one of the only times Jericho has ever made a return to WWE, and it had been a surprise. Nobody really saw this coming. It wasn't in any of the sheets. I don't know how they snuck him into the arena or anything that happened. Jericho has been plagued by people knowing that he was coming early in his career with the Y2J. They released the magazine issue when he came back to save the WWE and take on Randy Orton to come back and help out when John Cena was injured, coming back from his long time, time away from the business. They released the magazine issue again with him on the cover saying that he was making his return, and he's never really gotten the true jaw-dropping return. On the Chris Jericho podcast, when he talks about returning to wrestling, he says that when he meets people at autograph signings or at his concerts or in the airports or walking through the malls, his number one question is always, when are you returning to wrestling? And he says his return to wrestling is going to be sooner than you think, and it's going to be a return like nobody has ever returned before. I don't know if that means that we've already seen his return to wrestling since his return to house shows. If you listen to the podcast, he talks about he's the opposite Brock Lesnar, where he doesn't want to be a part of television because he can't be around all the time, but he's told Vince McMahon that he will fill in on house shows when needed. So he's been going around. There was a big sort of pop for him, and I think it was the Birmingham show last weekend. People weren't expecting him to be there, but I could have sworn he's named the shows that he was going to wrestle on his podcast, and that was one of the ones that were there. So when people were tweeting about it, I honestly wasn't really that surprised. But I do know that on Sunday, the day of the Royal Rumble, Chris Jericho is already going to be in Philadelphia. He's basically signed himself up to be the judge moderator in the debate that RF Video is putting on between Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff, debating the Monday Night War, WCW against WWF. Each guy is going to take their case and try to see, which company was the best. We all know that in the end, WCW lost out. I don't know what the real argument is going to be, but I'm guessing this is going to be a hot ticket. Jericho says there's a VIP ticket you can buy if you want to, meet him before the show, this, that, and the other. But, Jericho's in shape. He's been wrestling for Vince on the tours for the past few weeks now. Easily with him being in Philadelphia, Jericho's always been a guy that Triple H or Vince McMahon can rely on to go out there and eat up minutes in a Royal Rumble. He wouldn't be some sort of guy that people are real surprised that is in there if they need somebody to go from the beginning until the end, to try and have a guy in there at all times that somebody thinks actually has a shot to win the Royal Rumble. I could easily see Chris Jericho, being asked at the last minute to join this match to try and put that extra little bit of star power in there. I think there's a little piece of Chris Jericho that loves being in the news, loves being in the limelight. I can remember getting a late night text from my good buddy Mario, who was flying to Pittsburgh last year to be at the Royal Rumble, and he was texting me saying that Chris Jericho just got on his flight. And he was, getting ecstatic that he thought he was the first to know about Chris Jericho making a return. I didn't know about it, but I'm guessing the people of Pittsburgh did because they were promoting it. Chris Jericho was there to do an autograph signing for the car convention, I believe, is what was there in town. So I think that Jericho got a little bit of a smile on his face, being able to tip the hat at the wrestling news sites that were reporting that he was going to return at the Royal Rumble and he was nowhere to be seen. So just because Jericho is in Philadelphia the same day as the Royal Rumble is going to be, and as he said, it's a brisk walk from the Dave & Buster's where the debate is going to be over to where the Wells Fargo Center is. It's still up for debate if Jericho's going to be a part of it. I would love to see it. I'm sure you would too. So we're all hoping for a Chris Jericho return at the Royal Rumble this year. We haven't seen the next guy in the WWE since around the time of Survivor Series. Sheamus was one of the guys that was all set to fight up against the Authority. Of course, Sheamus is always itching to find himself in a fight. with Team Cena taking on the Authority. Shortly before this, it was the last backstage pass, and one of the best things that WWE Network has ever done was the exclusive match after Raw ended was a turn on the WWE Network. See the United States Championship match between Rusev and Sheamus. Sheamus, one of the biggest stars in the WWE, and Rusev, one of the up-and-comers, undefeated at this point, challenging for the United States Championship. I honestly thought this was a match just to build up to a fight that was going to happen at Survivor Series. But they ended up doing the actual title change, actually showing you that anything could happen on the WWE Network. And to make sure anytime there's a match, make sure you go to do this. Well, for some reason, WWE Network hasn't gone back to this gimmick. This is something that easily they could be using at least once a month to make it let it be well known that the WWE Network is not to be messed with. But then the next week on Monday Night Raw, Sheamus was attacked by Rusev and Mark Henry and slammed through the announce table. This was basically to take him off of the Survivor Series, where it was reported and also semi-reported that Sheamus was taking time off to heal for an injury. Some people said this was storyline. Some people said it wasn't storyline. But here we are, counting down the days to the Royal Rumble in late January, and Sheamus hasn't been seen in months. Maybe Sheamus was just taking some time off since he's been very active in the WWE for a good amount of time, and he hasn't really had time off in a long time. Sheamus did an interview with the YouTube or WWE Network people after Monday Night Raw went off the air, basically saying that he's itching to get back on television, he's itching to get into a fight. However, the doctors have not medically cleared him to compete. I don't understand why Sheamus would do this interview if Sheamus was not going to be a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble. Sheamus had very easy to notice he had longer facial hair at this time. Although he was still all dressed up to the nines, like he was looking like Conor McGregor, coming off this big UFC fight at Fight Night 59. Sheamus, I don't know. There's been reports basically where, WWE wanted to make Sheamus the number one face of the company, where he would push John Cena out of there. But at the same time, they really weren't able to get any storylines behind Sheamus to really push him to the top anywhere. I really do see Sheamus coming into the Royal Rumble. I give Sheamus a very small chance of actually winning the Rumble. I wouldn't even put $1 on it if it came down to it. But Sheamus is always going to be a star. They're always going to make sure that he's in there. I wouldn't pick him to finish in my in my bottom four, final four, whatever you want to call it. But I would bet money that Sheamus is going to be making a special return at the Royal Rumble, and hopefully it'll be something that we want to remember from here on out. Alrighty, I know by the title of this one, people are already going to be a little bit upset. I've gone out on the limb 4 weeks in a row since the Christmas show at Madison Square Garden, predicting this is going to be the week that Randy Orton finally returns and does this thing and becomes a part of the active roster again. It looked like Randy was going to come back to Monday Night Raw on the Christmas show. They had advertised him, and then all of a sudden he just wasn't there. And I kept on thinking maybe he'll be the next week, maybe he'll be the next week, maybe it'll be the next week. And then we had Legends Raw or Raw Reunion, whatever it was. And in that one, I at least said I'm pretty sure he's not going to show up. It'd be pretty weird to do a return and then at the same time have all these other guys sort of overshadowing what was going on at the time. Little did I know that Sting was going to show up and make his Monday Night Raw debut. And sort of... you sort of remember the NWO, you remember the Click reunion, but at the end of the night, Sting was your MVP of Raw. He was the one guy that you were really like, yeah, it's WrestleMania season. This is what it's all about. We're gearing up. We're going to get Sting. We're going to get Triple H. Maybe we'll get Sting versus Seth Rollins. That's a match that I'm not going to keep out of my mind, but maybe there's a chance Seth Rollins walks out with the championship and he has a match against the Royal Rumble winner. But, Seth Rollins, he has a good reason in his back pocket to be fighting Sting. That is, if this guy doesn't come in and wreck his day. Randy Orton has the perfect reason to have a match with Seth Rollins. it's just a matter of, seeing how he's going to get it. Easily, Randy Orton could show up during the World Heavyweight Championship match, or Randy Orton could show up during the Money in the Bank cash-in attempt by Seth Rollins, sort of, squashing his dreams of becoming champion. This would, of course, set up a feud between Randy Orton and Seth Rollins that would probably go for 3 months, going through Fastlane, WrestleMania, and then ending up at Extreme Rules. Or Randy Orton could enter himself into the Royal Rumble, last 29 other competitors, winning the whole deal, and guaranteeing his shot against Seth Rollins, who might go on the run. If you can remember when Seth Rollins was being hunted down by Dean Ambrose, every time these guys got in the ring together, basically he would run away. That's why that whole feud was built up to the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. The only thing was that just Seth Rollins was pushing everybody, or pissing everybody off at that time. Seth Rollins could have had a match against John Cena. Seth Rollins could have had a match against Dean Ambrose inside of the Hell in the Cell, and everybody would have walked away happy because there was reasons for Seth Rollins to have a match with both of those guys inside of the Hell in the Cell. Basically, he broke John Cena's dream of beating Brock Lesnar, and becoming the champion. I think John cared more about beating Brock, his big-time rival, more than he cared about being the champion at the time. Dean Ambrose was still pissed that, his running mates, the Shield, had broken up, and he felt betrayed by Seth Rollins. So that would have been a great match to have in there. Randy, he is split away from the Authority. I guess it's not 100% his decision. It was Seth, Triple H, and Stephanie wanting to end the problem they had. They decided that there was more to bet on by pushing it with Rollins moving on, because Randy had let them down as of late. He wasn't able to keep the championship at WrestleMania. He wasn't able to beat John Cena at Hell in the Cell. And I guess they just lost faith in him. I guess you could even debate if they ever really had faith in him. The whole time, Randy was champion. They were having to, help him win the matches by cheating. They were having to, give Randy constant pep talks, letting him know that he was the guy that they believed in, but they wanted the Viper of the past. And, I could see easily him coming in at the Royal Rumble and just being one of those things like I talked about a minute ago, gearing up for WrestleMania, people getting pumped up. When you can actually see the card coming together and you're taking names and you're putting them on the booker board and you're trying to drop what's it going to be. There's still a lot of question marks. The Royal Rumble itself, when we find out who's going to be the number one contender, will more than likely answer a few of those questions, and then you start lining things up for your main event and your co-main event. You got your Legends match and your Dream match. You're trying to put together, seeing if you're going to use the tag titles, but they don't ever use those, so you're trying to put that up there in the pre-show match like last year. But I'm pumped for Randy to return. It's been a long damn time. I've been wanting it for about a month. As you can tell, I'm getting giddy about it, and I'm not even a Randy Orton fan. He's probably going to come in. He's probably going to give an RKO to Seth Rollins, probably going to give an RKO to Triple H. I'm going to pop like crazy, and within 3 weeks, I'm going to be complaining that Randy Orton's a babyface and he needs to go heel. And then, maybe 2 years down the road when he finally does turn heel, and after about 2-3 weeks of that, I'll be begging, like, just take Randy off of TV. I don't really like this guy that much. But, Randy's a great wrestler. I don't really like his storylines. I find him very boring. I don't really, get down with him that much, but Randy has a lot of great matches. Randy's got a great DVD that came out a few years ago. I'm sure that sooner than later, more than likely, it won't be a best of. No, I apologize. It probably won't be like a documentary one, because we've already got a day in the life of Randy Orton, sort of. In Evolution of the Predator, it'll probably just be like a continuation with 3 more discs of his best matches. Randy's got a lot of great matches, and a lot of great matches that I'd like to watch again one more time, so I'll be hoping for that. But Randy Orton returning at the Rumble, I would bet money on this one, big time. It's got to happen. All right, this is the granddaddy of them all. This is the big one. This is the main event, the actual Royal Rumble match itself. 1 hour of fun right here with 30 superstars. Number 1 and number 2 come down to the ring to start off the match. And then for every 90 seconds, another competitor runs down to the ring. Every year we see some sort of Royal Rumble shenanigans that, sort of steals the show. They try to, this is such a long match. They put a little comedy in there. They put a little bit of suspense in there. They always give you some sort of a good feeling with some sort of a, legend coming running down. We've covered so many of those. I remember last year, the Ultimate Warrior, he had already been named as the first guy to go into the Hall of Fame for last year's class of 2014 for the WrestleMania 30 weekend. But he tweeted something about the feeling of putting on the tassels and running down to the ring one more time tonight. And I remember watching the show with my friends Luke and Zach, and basically like, Warrior's coming. He said he's coming. He's not going to lie to us. The Royal Rumble, honestly, anything can happen. If you go to the WWE website and you go to the Royal Rumble page itself, they've got a list of about 13 competitors that are actually going to be in the match. Of course, we know of Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan from them announcing on television that they're going to be a part of it. Bray Wyatt did a YouTube promo hyping it up that's been on the website for a little bit. I remember going to the house show in Sacramento, California a few weeks ago. There, Rusev announced that he was going to be adding himself into the Royal Rumble since the match was canceled that he was going to have against Ryback. Ryback now having his job back with Dolph Ziggler, with Rusev. No, Rusev is not one of them. It's another R. Dolph Ziggler and Eric Rowan is the other guy that was fired by the Authority for being a part of John Cena. They haven't been added to the actual physical list, but you would think that this is going to be the first time we actually see them back in the WWE since getting their job back on Monday Night Raw, with John Cena picking up the victory over the handicap match by pinning Seth Rollins with the assistance of Sting, who came in and sidetracked Corporate Kane and Big Show. Also in the match is going to be your Intercontinental Champion, Bad News Barrett, Dean Ambrose, Goldust, Stardust, Big Show, Kane, Miz Dow, and R-Truth. Through the Raw reunion show, we saw basically the first time pumping up this match of really getting the feel of this is a really big one. You had Shawn Michaels in the ring basically saying that you needed to win a Royal Rumble to become champion. It was the exclamation point on a career. So many of the Hall of Famers that have gone in as of late were past Royal Rumble winners. If you look throughout the main event scene, Seth Rollins hasn't won one, but Brock Lesnar won one years ago, setting up his shot at WrestleMania 19. John Cena made the surprise return where he came in at number 30 when everybody thought he was still injured. Of course, he also won in 2012, setting up his match at WrestleMania 29 against The Rock. He's a two-time winner. Anybody can win this. That is the biggest the biggest surprise out of this. No matter what number you're in, if you can throw guys over the top rope, you can win this. I remember watching, Royal Rumble, I believe it was like 1990, maybe 1991, and there was a wrestler that I used to watch on Wrestling Supercharged and Wrestling Challenge. He won all of his matches by throwing guys over the top rope and getting the count-out victory. His name was the Berserker. Some people might know him as just the Viking. But I always remember that when the Royal Rumble came around, I was like, this guy only wins by count-out. This guy never loses. This is the guy who's going to win it. I guarantee it. And he didn't win. He got tossed out. But that's just the way you think. It doesn't matter if you're, R-Truth. This can be the one thing that sort of resurrects your career and puts you back on top in the main event. But I don't know. When I look at this list, there's not many guys that I think that can win this. I think that Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan are your two names that can win this whole deal. I think that in my heart, I'm going to be rooting for Daniel Bryan. But in my brain, I really do believe that the easy answer for this is Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has to be the victor. After seeing the Raw reunion Legends panel with Ric Flair sparring off against the Big Show, getting all fired up before getting knocked out with the knockout punch, and then Roman came running down to save Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. You only do that for a guy that you're looking to put into the main event scene. And, Roman Reigns, for the longest time, has been looked at. You can, listen to what you heard on the CM Punk podcast on the Art of Wrestling. Basically, even at TLC, in the 3-on-1 match that CM Punk won, everyone in the world was saying, make sure you make Roman Reigns look really strong. This is the guy that, for over a year now, we've been wanting to, just push him a little bit more, get him to the point where he can become the guy. Putting Cena on a little bit of the back burner. If you can go back to think about what happened at WrestleMania 6 with the Ultimate Challenge, Ultimate Warrior was going to be the WWE champion. He was going to be the guy with the belt. Hulk Hogan, he wasn't going to be sent out to the pasture, but they were going to start using him less. But, SummerSlam rolls around, WrestleMania rolls around, Survivor Series. You have him on the show. He might not work all the house shows, but, people still come for the name Hulk Hogan. It's not like we're getting rid of him. We're just going to be letting him work a little bit less to keep him around a little bit longer. And I think that's what they're going to do with John. Basically, John will still work a good majority of Monday Night Raws. He might work a little bit less of the house shows. He might be able to go out and make a little bit more movies. He might not have to work every pay-per-view because you don't always have to have him in that main event deal. The one big complaint about John Cena is that he's always on top. He never goes away. He's always the bright light guiding WWE down the road, and people want to see something different. It's now 2015. John Cena has been on top since about at least 2005. And I mean, in 2005, people were already starting to complain about this guy. So for 10 years, people have been wanting something else to come around. And, we've seen CM Punk come up to the top. And, Brock Lesnar made a big splash by him coming back. Not really that much has changed. I mean, they've got developmental pumping up a lot of guys. Seth Rollins is in the main event here at this pay-per-view. Some people think he's got a shot at becoming the champion and being the champion at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan got his moment by getting added into the main event last year at WrestleMania and winning the big one and looking like he was going to have the biggest year of his career, but injuries and setbacks made him fall off a little bit. Daniel Bryan's going to have a huge showing in this Royal Rumble. I don't think he's going to win it. I wouldn't be surprised if, Corporate Kane is sent out on like a bonsai suicide mission, I guess you could say, by just making sure that he eliminates Daniel Bryan, even by maybe eliminating himself at the same point with like a flying cross body, taking him out over the top rope. Corporate Kane, he's not going to be winning the Rumble. He's, the bottom of the totem pole, pretty much, I guess you can say, inside of the Authority. A lot of people try to pick different sort of brackets along with the Royal Rumble. If I had to pick a Final Four series of guys, I'm going to pick Roman Reigns, The Big Show. I'll pick, I don't want to pick Daniel Bryan. I don't think he's going to come down to the end because I think they want to break your heart early. But then again, if they don't have him in there, people are going to go crazy. So I'll pick Daniel Bryan and I'll pick Corporate Kane to stay in there. If you want to talk about who's going to be in there the longest, I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody like The Miz. I think The Miz had the longest time in the Royal Rumble a few years ago. He's the guy that really can go. That they always try to make sure he looks good, even though he's sort of in that mid-card status, and he's been stuck in there for a long time. Royal Rumble's going to be a lot of fun. I signed up for my first Royal Rumble pool with my friends. I drew number 9 and number 10. So basically, I'm screwed. But I don't know. There's a lot of other people in there from, Kevin, Miguel, Ravi, Paul. He's got 4 numbers in there. But I'm going to be set and seeing what's going to be going. So when you're watching the Royal Rumble, I want you to tweet me when number 9 and number 10 come out and tell how foolish I was to bet $10 on this. Because I think I've already flushed the money down the toilet. My dog's flipping out. I think we had a good show here, so we're counting it down to the Royal Rumble. Of course, everybody knows Royal Rumble Sunday. You can come over to the Stevie Breach channel that night. We'll have a full-up review show. Talking about all the ongoings and the new champions, maybe the cash-ins or the secret surprises. Seeing if these people are going to be a one-time deal for the Royal Rumble, or if they're going to be going the whole shebang, seeing if maybe they fit into the WrestleMania puzzle. But thanks for everybody. STS Radio, signing off. Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you tonight. We finally saw Daniel Bryan being added to the Royal Rumble. He was able to defeat Kane on SmackDown. Let me know, was it a little bit weird? This is the second week the SmackDown's been on Thursdays. Were you able to remember everything that went down? I honestly can tell you that I forgot that NXT was on last night. So, last night they made the big push to make sure everybody was going around and remembering what days shows were on. This week came up and I got a little bit mixed up and jumbled. I haven't been able to watch NXT yet. But Daniel Bryan being added into the Royal Rumble is a big deal. I know that a lot of people out there are really hoping for Daniel Bryan to win his first Royal Rumble. I know that he did main event last year's WrestleMania. He was sort of the weird adaptation to the rule, being added because of the yes factor. And a lot of people think that he's just going to be handed his spot back, even though he wasn't able to wrestle in between May and now January. It's been a long hiatus for Daniel Bryan where we had ups and we had downs, basically, thinking that, Bryan was never going to wrestle again for a little part of that. It just seemed like, is it really worth him to, put everything on the line and come back to wrestle for just a short little bit? Daniel Bryan has been through a lot in his career. I know that a lot of people, sort of put Daniel Bryan in the youth movement because of the fact that, John Cena's been around forever, and a lot of people want something different than John Cena and Randy Orton. But to me, honestly, even though Bryan just came onto the scene in 2010. He just had his first sort of main event year. I don't think Bryan's going to be, around forever. That's, why, in the background we're rooting for the Shield guys. We're rooting for Ambrose. We're rooting for Roman Reigns. Maybe not a lot of people rooting for Roman Reigns right now. It seems that he's actually, getting his chance to move up the ladder. And people are trying to shove him back down, but people are actually, cheering for Rollins, cheering for Bray Wyatt. It's a lot like, when we were watching wrestling back in 2002, and all of those guys were coming up with Randy Orton and John Cena. I think Batista was in there, Brock Lesnar. It was a really, really fun time with a whole bunch of new names, mixing in with the old names, and, everybody was fighting. Along the line, a lot of guys' names pop up that we think are going to be big stars. They fall off, and they end up wrestling some other way. But I think right now with the Performance Center, the WWE is pushing into the right direction to get there. Now, honestly, in my opinion, I think a lot of people have Daniel Bryan winning the deal. After watching Monday Night Raw, I really think that it's an easy pick to see that Roman Reigns is winning the Royal Rumble. Him coming out there and saving Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels is just something that you don't do unless you have major plans for this guy. And I think that, especially with everything that was said during that segment involving him, it's easy to point to the fact that Roman Reigns is going to be the winner. Now, is Daniel Bryan going to be buried if Daniel Bryan doesn't win the Royal Rumble? I don't think so. I think that he's definitely going to be a big part of WrestleMania. You can't, main event WrestleMania, have two of the best WWE matches of the year on the same card, and a year later just be sort of thrown into the scrap pile. I definitely don't want to see him wrestling against Corporate Kane at WrestleMania, but WWE has a way of figuring things out, putting matches out there that they know are going to be good. I know that we've seen Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, and that was the rumored match for last year. These guys seem to be the long-standing rivals at WrestleMania. Of course, the WrestleMania 27 match was scrapped. They wrestled for a minute before it became the pre-show battle royal, where I will honestly admit that I think I was a little bit confused. I didn't know if the Great Khali had won the United States Championship or not. I knew that there was a United States Championship match going on before they said that it was a 30-man battle royal because of all the lumberjacks getting involved. Then of course WrestleMania 28, we saw Sheamus beat Daniel Bryan in a matter of seconds. Last year was supposed to be, he said it was supposed to be the 4th or 5th match on the card. They were just going to have a match. We didn't get to see that at all because Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement pushed them all the way into, wrestling Triple H in the opening match of the night, and then, closing it out, beating Batista and Daniel Bryan. Might as well throw in that he beat Triple H as well. No, it's hard for me. I mean, everybody tries to think of who the final four guys are going to be. I honestly think it's going to be Roman Reigns. I think it's going to be Big Show. I think it's going to be Corporate Kane. But I can't put Bryan in there. I don't know who's going to eliminate Daniel Bryan, because whoever does is going to have a huge amount of heat on them. I definitely think it could be a member of the Authority. It could be Stephanie McMahon herself running down there and eliminating Bryan. I know that a lot of their angle is being built up around each other. I know that you can't really include Brie anymore. Stephanie already wrestled Brie. Brie's a heel. We know that Brie and Daniel are together. I don't know how they're ever going to explain how they're still together and how they have such different opinions about what is going on. Maybe we just won't see them interact on the show anymore. It's one of the problems that I have with the WWE universe and the Total Divas universe, about them sort of uniting. It doesn't really make sense at all. It's just the whole time period is all messed up. Total Divas is 4 months behind what's happening on Raw and SmackDown, but yet they're still trying to match it up to where the past matters with the future, and it's a big ball of mess. I love watching Raw. I love watching Total Divas, but as a wrestling fan, Total Divas makes my head explode when I'm trying to put the timeline together about everything that's going down. But I really just see like a member of J&J Security, not being a member of the Rumble, but being sort of like a Kaientai or like a Mean Street Posse, just running down and hitting the ring, taking care of business. Like I said, I don't want to see Daniel Bryan wrestle Corporate Kane at WrestleMania. I don't think you can do Triple H versus Daniel Bryan for a second time. It looks like Triple H is going to be wrestling Sting at this point, even though it could be Seth Rollins versus Sting at this point. Sting has had an influence in Seth Rollins being pinned not once but twice. He could just get messed up. I was going to call them the Brothers of Destruction. I know that they were a tag team for a while, but I don't think they had a name. We could just see Daniel Bryan be eliminated by Kane and Big Show. Roman Reigns could bump him out. I know that a lot of people are looking for him to have some sort of a heel turn. The last few years, we've seen like a match basically break out at the Royal Rumble. We saw, Ryback versus John Cena. We saw, Sheamus versus Jericho. Batista versus Roman Reigns last year. So, I mean, like, you get down to the final four, and then you end up having, like, a 5-minute match. I think that started with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels a few years ago, and both guys were really fighting to win that Rumble. To show that they could main event. That's when they started, basically having another match. How those guys can be in the Rumble for so long and then to get, all fired up and not gassed out, I've got no clue. But I just don't see Bryan doing it. And that might not be the best thing, for business. But I think that WWE can put it together to where, Daniel Bryan's going to be in a good match at WrestleMania. They know that, people want to chant yes. They want to buy foam fingers. They want to buy T-shirts. They all want to, paint their face to have a beard like Daniel Bryan. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens. What do you guys think's going to happen? I just don't see him winning. My heart wants him to win. Believe me that. But I just don't think he's going to. Good morning. What is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach, waiting for the doors to open. Go in and do some work at my job. But it seems that when I was doing all my videos about surprise returns at the Royal Rumble, I left someone off the list. That being Booyaka 619, Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is the guy that's been absent for the WWE for, I'd say, mostly the whole year. I can find him in pictures from last year at WrestleMania with him working the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I honestly have no memories of Rey Mysterio working at WrestleMania last year, but he's been a big focus of the wrestling discussion this year. A lot to talk about him basically trying to be released from WWE. basically thinking that he doesn't want to work there anymore. He wants to go work down in AAA. He wants to go work for Lucha Underground. WWE is trying to hang on to him for his merchandising rights, even trying to go as far as saying, well, we'll release you, but we want to hold on to your merchandising rights. There's been talks of Rey Mysterio going and having a meeting with Vince McMahon in Buffalo, New York, before Monday Night Raw. And at this meeting, where Vince asks Rey Mysterio to go work on the European tour, and Rey Mysterio turns him down, which sort of puts them in a weird state, because Rey Mysterio is wanting his contract to expire, but WWE pretty much has a freeze on his contract where they're still paying him, but he's not working the allotted amount of dates that he owes WWE. If he was to go on that European tour, he'd be starting to tick down on those dates, and the contract would expire, and he would go to AAA, and he would go to Lucha Underground if he wanted to. I think that Mysterio is in a spot where he wants to wrestle, but he wants those days to mean something. I think that he's trying to save face, and I think he's trying to basically not let his buddy Conan down. Conan trying to recruit him to bring him into both of his companies. But I don't know. WWE coming back and bringing back Rey Mysterio for the Royal Rumble, honestly, in my mind, is a big deal. I mean, if you think of last year, he came running out there at number 30, and everybody booed the guy because they really wanted to see Daniel Bryan. That would be an awesome place to put Rey Mysterio in and see if it's going to work for a second time. In this Rumble, we already know that Daniel Bryan's going to be there, and probably they're going to want to eliminate him faster than leave him in there for a long time. More than likely, Daniel Bryan's elimination from the Royal Rumble is going to be some sort of a screw job. Everybody loves Rey Mysterio. Sells tons of masks, sells tons of t-shirts, sells, pants. I want to see it. I think that would be awesome, and I think more than likely a lot of people would like to see it too. So more than likely, I'm pushing to see Rey Mysterio joining up into the Royal Rumble this year. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with the dream situation that I had months back, talking about how a lot of people thought that it was going to be Brock Lesnar versus The Rock at WrestleMania 31, live from Santa Clara as the big main event. It was going to be some sort of a big surprise, and I remember months back I said, the only way that this match can happen, a lot of people think, is if The Rock wins the Rumble. And today, The Rock tweeted out that he was in South Philadelphia near the ever so popular Geno's Steaks. Everybody loves a good Philadelphia, Philly cheesesteak sandwich. I know that my buddy Miguel, it's one of his biggest regrets about not being able to make it out to the Rumble this year. But The Rock showing up, being in town, staying at the WWE hotel, it to me is a whole lot more than just a coincidence. You can remember this coincidence struck us, when The Rock showed up in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center and came out there on Monday Night Raw, basically having a promo with the Rusev, and my ass was at the Toby Keith Bar and Grill because I was upset that they weren't doing the Big Show versus Rusev match, that I was going to see the Mark Henry heel turn. That is a mistake that I will pay for the rest of my life. There I was, sitting there eating my super big nacho. The Rock comes out. My phone starts blowing up. There's 1,000 TVs inside of the Toby Keith Bar and Grill. Not one of them on Monday Night Raw. I had to wait until I got home. All I could do was laugh about it. But I don't know. Rock coming and being a part of WrestleMania 31, I thought was out the window because I just didn't see him doing it. I thought there would be a whole lot more fanfare surrounding The Rock. It's not like he's just going to show up in the middle of nowhere and build up to a big match for WrestleMania. I thought that it was going to be like an ongoing angle. Some people thought that maybe with The Rock, coming back and doing the deal with Rusev, that maybe they would do Rusev versus The Rock at WrestleMania. I thought if The Rock came back, it was going to be for more of something big. Brock versus Rock is going to be something that honestly really delivers. There's people out there that are really holding on to Brock versus Daniel Bryan. I think The Rock winning the Rumble, Brock being able to retain his championship in the John Cena match is a big, big story. It is a game changer. I know that I know there's a good deal of people that have their WrestleMania 31 trip relying on who wins the Royal Rumble and what they think the card is going to be for WrestleMania. That is going to be their decision if they're going to buy plane tickets to come out to Santa Clara for WrestleMania 31. This is going to be the big one. The Rock showing up and being a part of the Rumble would be huge. What number do you give him? Does he have to have the number 30 slot where you watch the whole Rumble and it comes down to him coming out there? I think it's been done. We've had winners from number 30 before. Nobody's going to be as big as that John Cena surprise victory, and everybody thought he was injured and thought he wasn't coming back. But this is a hope and a prayer. I can throw this out there and hope it comes true. But it's a big one. The Rock at the Rumble. Who would have thought? Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. I've been seeing a lot of talk on the Twitters and the YouTubes. Everybody making videos about who they think the surprise entrant is going to be. I think that the world just sort of got rocked by Rock posting the tweets about being in Philadelphia, going over and visiting the Geno's Philadelphia cheesesteak shop. Him having reports of him being at the WWE hotel. I still think that the ultimate guy that people want to know if he's going to be a part of WrestleMania, and the biggest way that you can make him make a debut that matters, is The Undertaker. The last few years, Undertaker's return has honestly been in some sort of weak situations. You can remember him coming back at the old school Raw in Buffalo, setting up WrestleMania 29, basically just having an introduction where he didn't even come down to the ring. He just came out on the stage. They put the WrestleMania 29 logo out there. Next thing you know, they got a fatal four-way inside of the ring with Wade Barrett, Sheamus, CM Punk, and I can't remember who the fourth guy was. Somebody's have to fill me in on the comments down below. And, CM Punk got the win. He was able to go on and try and beat the streak at WrestleMania 29. A lot of people say it was the best match of the card, but wasn't able to really make WrestleMania 29 a great WrestleMania. A lot of people remember the Raw after WrestleMania 29 as being the best part of WrestleMania weekend, with Dolph Ziggler cashing in, taking over the Sheamus versus Randy Orton. The Sheamus versus Randy Orton match, I guess. I don't know what I was trying to think of right there. But, I don't know, man. Undertaker being a part of WrestleMania would be huge. The only thing I can think of for Undertaker to be coming back is to try and avenge his loss from last year, trying to challenge Brock Lesnar. You could do that if Brock Lesnar lost. I know that the Undertaker has won a Rumble in the past. 2007, I just finished watching it last night. Probably won't have time to get a review up on it before the Royal Rumble. Maybe I'll do one right after, and I'll try to sneak it in there. But I don't know, man. Brock versus Taker would sell some tickets. A lot of people need a reason to go to WrestleMania this year. Santa Clara isn't really drawing in the big number of fans that it's been there. You get The Rock. You go have The Rock versus somebody, maybe Rusev, going off the Bass thing. I guess I can't talk about Rock versus Brock if I'm using The Undertaker. There has been discussions of Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. That is a match that, Bray Wyatt's been getting a lot of wins during the Dean Ambrose feud. And a lot of people saying they're trying to keep him strong in case, Bray Wyatt, needs an opponent like The Undertaker for WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt had a big feud against John Cena last year at WrestleMania, and anything other than, something like that is going to look like a huge letdown that Bray probably had a bad year this year, and he's not going to be part of the future. So we're going to have to see. We're all got our fingers crossed for The Undertaker. We'll see what happens.